Hi, my name is Spencer. I'm an attorney here at VA Disability Group. Today I'm going to be discussing traumatic brain injury C&P exams. For the remainder of this video, I'll be referring to traumatic brain injuries as TBIs. The first thing I'm going to do today is discuss the regulations which define how a TBI is evaluated. The next thing I'll do is I'll go through a TBI DBQ with you so you know what to expect at your C&P exam. A DBQ is simply a Disability Benefits Questionnaire. This is the form the examiner is going to be filling out at your C&P exam. So the first thing I'm going to talk about today is the regulations. So 38 CFR section 4.124A, schedule of ratings for neurological conditions and convulsive disorders. This is what the traumatic brain injuries are evaluated under. More specifically, they're evaluated under diagnostic code 8045. So if you look on my screen here, we're just going to scroll down to 8045. That's the diagnostic code for TBIs. Here it is here, residuals of traumatic brain injury, 8045. So traumatic brain injuries, the regulation basically states that there's three main areas of dysfunction resulting from a traumatic brain injury. The first one is cognitive impairment. This could be stuff like memory issues, concentration issues, attention issues. These kind of things would fall under the cognitive impairment dysfunction. The next would be emotional or behavioral impairment. This would be things like mental disorders, such as depressive disorders or anxiety disorders stemming from a traumatic brain injury. The third one and final one is the physical impairments. This could be things like chronic pain, hearing loss, tinnitus, visual impairment, seizures. So these are the three main areas of dysfunction that result from a traumatic brain injury, and this is what the regulation really focuses on here. Now, if a TBI causes a physical or mental condition, the VA is supposed to rate those conditions under the applicable diagnostic code and regulation. For example, tinnitus, it will be rated under a different section of the regulation, what is 38 CFR 4.87 diagnostic code 6260, whereas major depressive disorder or another mental disorder would be rated under 38 CFR section 4.130 diagnostic code 9434. A note here, physical conditions, a TBI, a veteran can receive a rating for both the TBI residuals and physical conditions. For example, he can obtain a separate rating for tinnitus and also his TBI residuals. However, a veteran generally won't receive a rating for both his mental health condition or his mental disorder and a TBI. This is because the symptoms usually overlap, and the VA examiners usually cannot differentiate which condition causes which symptoms. However, in the odd case that you can differentiate the symptoms between a TBI and a mental health disorder, then in that specific circumstance, a veteran can receive both a TBI ratings for his residual symptoms and a mental health disorder. So for TBI symptoms that do not fall under the applicable diagnostic code for mental health condition, or there's no diagnostic code for these physical symptoms or neurological symptoms, anything that does not fall under its own independent diagnostic code, these symptoms are going to be rated based on the evaluation of cognitive impairment table. So if we look at the regulation here and we scroll down, we're going to see a table here, evaluation of cognitive impairment and other residuals of TBIs not otherwise classified. What we're going to have here is there are going to be 10 facets in this table, and a facet, for example, is memory, attention, concentration, executive functions, facet 1. Facet 2 will be judgment. Facet 3 will be social interaction. Facet 4 will be orientation. Facet 5 will be motor activity. Number 6 will be visual spatial orientation. Number 7 will be subjective symptoms. Number 8 will be neural behavioral effects. Number 9 is communication. And number 10 is consciousness. So here we have the residuals of TBI symptoms are going to be rated based on a number you get assigned for each one of these facets. For example, if you get a score of 0 on a facet, that will translate to a 0% disability. If you get a score of 1, that'll translate to a 10% disability. If you get a score of 2, that's going to be a 40% disability. And if you get a score of 3, this is going to be a 70% disability. And the score of total, that's going to be a total, so 100% disability. And just so you're aware, on each one of these facets, you're going to get assigned a rating by the examiner, and you're going to get whatever one's most beneficial. Now, you're not going to get separate ratings for each facet, but you're going to get the most beneficial one. So, for example, you get a level 2 on the memory, attention, and concentration facet, and you get a 1 on the judgment facet. You're going to be assigned a rating based on that level 2, which would be a 40% disability for your residuals of your TBI. To make this clearer, what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to pull up the DBQ beside this. I'm going to show you exactly what the examiner is going to check off right beside the regulation. On the right side of the screen here, you're going to see the TBI DBQ, the Disability Benefits Questionnaire. This is what the examiner uses to evaluate your TBI. And on the left side of the screen here, I'm going to scroll back up. You're going to see the residuals of traumatic brain injury regulation. Now, this regulation is very complex, and it goes on for a while here. So what we're going to do is, again, just focus on the most important part for evaluating your TBI, and that's the table here, the evaluation of cognitive impairment table. And so I have that table pulled up, and then I'm going to scroll through in the DBQ to that section. Again, this is a complex topic. I'm not going to go through every page with you here in the DBQ. I'm going to skip right into the part with the evaluator, the adjudicator is going to look at on the examination form. The adjudicators are going to skip right to here, so that's what we're going to do as well. So that is on page 3. We skip the first 2 pages here. On the left side of my screen, you see the memory, attention, concentration, executive function table. On the right side of my screen at the top here, we see those words again, the memory, attention, concentration, and executive function. The examiner might check here, objective evidence of testing on mild impairment of memory. So we look over to our table, objective evidence of testing and mild impairment of memory is at number 2. So if that's a number 2, as we've discussed before, a 2 will give you a 40%. Then we're going to go to the judgment section. In the judgment section, if he puts normal, that's a 0. You're not going to get assigned any rating. If he puts severely impaired judgment, that's a total rating, that's 100%. So we're going to see these boxes directly correspond to numbers in our table here, and the numbers, if we scroll up to the traumatic brain injury section here, the numbers correspond to ratings. So the examiner is going to go through all 10 of these facets and check off a box, and depending on what box they check, that's going to give you a different number. And once we said before, you're only going to get one evaluation for your TBI. So if you get in different sections or facets, a 0, a 1, a 2, a 3, in which circumstances there, you're going to get evaluated based on that number 3. What means you're going to get one 70% rating. You don't get separate ratings, but you do get the one that's most favorable to you. A few things to point out here. The subjective facet, I'm going to scroll up here. The subjective facet right here, it only goes 0, 1, 2. So that means here the most you can get for subjective symptoms, ones that cannot be objectively proven by the examiner, is a 40%. It stops at number 2. Another thing I would like to point out is if we scroll down the consciousness facet, it obviously, it has a total and then it has nothing else. And the reason why there is either you're conscious or you're not. So you're either unconscious and you're in a vegetative state or in a coma, or you're or you're conscious. So you either get a rating for this or you don't, and it's obviously going to be either 100% or it's going to be nothing. I believe that's everything I actually have for this DBQ video for you today. Given the complexity of the TBI regulations and the DBQ itself, I only focused on the most important sections, and I only showed you how you're going to be rated based on those sections. Although what I will do is provide you with a link to both the regulation and the DBQ so you can review more in depth if you want, but essentially focus on those 10 facets, as that's how you're going to be evaluated and get assigned a rating for your residual of TBI symptoms. Thanks and goodbye.